Over here too, don't we? Okay, it's preparing to live stream. I think we're live streaming, and I think we're a few seconds late. Okay. Okay, I hope we don't get an echo. We're going to go ahead. Let me get this recording started. Record here. Well, hello everyone. This is Carrie back with How to Homeschool My Child. I'm going to try to multitask with Megan here, and we've got like, oh, I can hear an echo in my ears. So let me just check and see if we're getting an echo with the people. Okay, I have some people here. If you're here and you can hear us, would you please just leave a comment, because I'm trying to make sure this works. Without an echo. We're going to do something else. I'm sorry, Megan. We're going to stop this recording and start it all over.
No problem.
I'm so sorry. Okay, so Megan, can you hear an echo? Do you have an echo?
I don't hear you echoing at all.
Okay, then we're just going to get started.
Yeah, I closed all my other windows and everything, so I don't know.
Yeah, I got it on this thing. Okay, we're going to start over.
Okay.
Maybe I could close. Okay, we're just going to go. Let me start the recording again. Well, hello, everyone. This is Carrie back with How to Homeschool My Child, and Megan is here, and I've got a little catch in my throat, so just a second. I'm excited. Megan's here. She's one of our homeschool superheroes. She's one of our life skills leadership summit speakers. Welcome, Megan.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
Well, thank you. We're going to just dive in. I know there were lots of people interested in this topic. So why don't you just go ahead and introduce yourself and just tell us a little bit about what you do and about your family.
Sure. I am a homeschooling mom. I have 3 boys. They are 13, 11, and 5.5. And they've never been to school. So they've always been home with me. I also run 2 businesses while homeschooling. So I'm one of those moms that's learning how to juggle it all. One of my businesses is as a gentle parenting coach, which is the topics that we're doing today.
Thank you. I've got to figure something out with this sound. It's sort of driving me crazy, and I don't want to interrupt the interview because you've got such great things to share. So no one seems to say there's no echo. I think I'm the only one because it's all over. So we'll just go to the questions. I'm so sorry. So let's just get started. We're talking about meltdowns, and Megan has a lot of great advice. So what do you do when your child is having a meltdown?
There are a lot of things you can do, and it depends on how far it's gotten. I always imagine it more as a volcano. And if you can catch your kids at, say, like a level 1 to 3, That's when they're starting to get annoyed and bothered with each other or frustrated. Once you hit a level 4 or 5 and that volcano's blown its top, it's sort of, you've passed the point of slowing it down, and you got to do some different tactics. And I even have a poster on that for anyone who's interested. But once they've kind of had in the middle of a meltdown, you really want to think of a few things. One is safety. You can be kind and firm, but you do need to make sure that everyone's being safe and they're in a safer place. And sometimes in public, you also might want to move them to a place where they can get their feelings out in a way that you don't feel that stress of everyone watching you. You know, don't be afraid of just getting in there and caring for your child, and don't worry about, you know, relatives, family, strangers in the grocery store. So you got to kind of get over that yourself. But in the moment, you want to validate their feelings. Children really, all their behavior is communication. It's them trying to communicate with you what's going on in their world. And so when you can validate their feelings and offer empathy, that really hits home to them, that they're seen, they're heard, they're understood. And you don't have to even agree with them, but you can certainly see their point of view, why that they're so upset and what's bothering them. And it helps them to have some language, because oftentimes this meltdown is that they just can't find the words. If they could, they would say, you know, mommy, I'm really upset about blah, blah, blah. But they don't have that language. So they're having this meltdown, and they really just need you to kind of give them the words. Sometimes you might want to guess at what's going on without talking too much. It's a fine balance, but coaching them, giving them some words, and then working towards some strategies to help them calm down. If you can remain calm yourself, there's actual science behind this. There's these things called mirror neurons. But basically, if you are calm, it's going to help them to be able to regulate themselves and calm down as well. And you're going to be able to parent from a better place rather than your own frustration. So keep yourself as calm as possible, and then work towards calming them down. And some of that's proactive, and some of that's just helping them find strategies in the moment to relax. Don't worry about trying to fix whatever the problem was in the moment. Wait until they're calm, and then you can go back and make any corrections, make any repairs, make any problem solving that you have to do. But really, your goal in the moment is to help them to feel safe, help them to calm down, and then you can move through dealing with anything else.
Oh, that's so good. You know, one of the things I think you said that really hits me is that validate their emotions, their feelings, because they really do have real feelings. And too often we think, oh, they're just a little person. Sort of like that Charlotte Mason was so upset that people didn't treat kids as real people. You know, we need to respect them as real people and sort of move forward with that. So, are there some ideas that you could share with our viewers to prevent the meltdowns?
Yeah, there's a lot that you can do as a family. And one of them is just welcoming feelings and making it not like this taboo topic. It depends on what generation you were brought up in, but really a long time ago, and you know, different cultures, whatever it is, feelings were sort of, you know, if you cry, I'll give you something to cry about. Or, you know, or just like we don't cry, we don't show our emotions. And if you can make that more open in your family, there's picture books you can read, teaching them specific strategies and coping skills. There's a lot of talk these days about mental health and how it's important to check in with yourself and to self-care and to care for yourself. You got to teach those directly to your children. If you want them to be healthy adults, you need to show them, what does that look like? What do you mean check in with yourself? What is that? How can I take a pause? What are all these take a deep breath? What does that mean? There are fun ways to do that. For little toddlers, get a pinwheel, you know, get balloons, practice, you know, blowing out a pretend candle. When they're really young, I love to make it into a game. And even when my son, he was, between 3 and 5 years old, he'll blow on my finger and I'll just make it, oh, you didn't blow very hard. And he'll blow harder and I'll, pretend I'm blowing across the room. It just gets him laughing. It's when you can help them turn this frustration, anger, and crying into laughter and smiles, really switches what's going on in the brain. So teach those things as they get older. Help them find other strategies like listening to music, journaling, talking to someone, physical ways of getting it out, like going for a run, squishing Play-Doh or fidget toys, dance parties, anything to release. We call it the angries, get the angries out, and finding appropriate ways. And the great thing to be preventative is to practice these things and make it a regular part of your day, so that when they are upset, they already have those strategies. It's sort of like, when you practice emergency drills all the time, and schools have fire drills, it's so that when there is an emergency, you automatically know what to do. And so practicing throughout the day, making it so that having these conversations, talk about this volcano with your kids. Talk about, we have another strategy that we do. It's called STOP. It's an acronym. And I actually break it down and practice it with kids all the time in my courses. That S is for stop. Physically stop what you're doing. Drop the block that you're about to throw across your room at your sister. Stop what you're doing. The T is take a deep breath or take a break. When you take a deep breath, there's actually, again, there's science behind all this. When you're freaking out, it's like you flipped your lid and your brain is going back to that sort of the autonomic system. That's the breathing and your fight, flight, and freeze mode. Your brain's not thinking. This is just like automatic reactions. You see, the rest of your brain's not engaged. That front part of your brain that does the reasoning and thinking, you flipped your lid. You're not thinking straight. You're gone into fight, flight, and freeze mode. So that taking a deep breath is actually re-engaging your whole brain. So now you actually can reason and think. You can show the kids the hand model. You can tell them how the brain works, and you can practice different breathing techniques so that when there isn't, that these are all preventative strategies you can do.
Yeah, I think that's so good. Breathing is something I'm always telling moms. When things go crazy and you feel overwhelmed, just stop and take 5 deep breaths. I've even taught them this square kind of breathing thing.
Yeah.
And so it was interesting this past weekend. It seemed like every flight I took to and from Denver was late. And I was supposed to get in Thursday night. I didn't get in till Friday morning at 8:30, and I had to speak at 10:30. They didn't have a room for me, so they put me in someone else's. And I stood in front of that bathroom, and all I did was breathe 5 times before I ever started getting myself ready, because I just needed to relax, because I was about to go speak to all these people. And breathing is just that oxygen just sort of slows you down. So I really I'm glad you shared that with them.
I forgot to tell you the rest of the word stop. So
oh yeah, go ahead.
Yeah,
T, so take a breath.
S is stop. T is take a breath or take a break. I mean, if you're really upset, even as a parent, go to the bathroom, wash your hands, splash some water on your face, give that yourself that, take a break. O is to observe. And we want to, sometimes we get so caught up in the moment that we cast all this judgment, that naming, calling, the blame, the shame, and we lose sight of what is actually happening. So if you could observe what's actually going on around you without judgment, you might be able to figure out what do you need in the moment. And it doesn't look so bad some of the time. Sometimes we think everything's an emergency and it really isn't. And then the P is plan and then proceed. You want to plan first. Make a plan for what you need to do. And for Christians, I always add prayer as the P. So pray, plan, and then proceed. You don't want to, leap before you look kind of thing, but come up with a plan. That could be taking more of a break and cool down time. It could mean picking a calming strategy. It could mean you're calm enough to come up with a problem solving strategy to fix the problem to make repairs, to make corrections. So that's the stop method.
Well, and I appreciate you bringing up the ideas for Christians, because some Christians, they have this thing about self-care and they feel like it's selfish or it's not paying attention to God. And yet the thing I start telling people is self-care means you need to do it from a biblical perspective. And like speaking truth to myself is self-care. It's saying the things that are true about me. And if I'm dealing with some problems, I need to come in and maybe replace the lies in my head. This is a whole different subject, but like for moms, maybe you're dealing with some issues. You need to take care of this and just do it from a biblical perspective. So I do think God wants us to take care of ourselves, especially for moms, before they can deal with parents. I know you've talked about this a little bit, but do you have anything else about parents and helping them stay calm in the situation?
Yeah, there's quite a few things you can do. The number one, like we just said, is you need to take care of yourself. In the moment, there's usually at least 5 things you can do when you're dealing with a lot of emergencies, stress, parenting during this pandemic. All these kinds of things come up. And the number one is care for yourself. You cannot give when you're on empty. There's no sense being a martyr. It's just going to go downhill because you don't have the strategies to cope with this. And then you're going to revert back to being more stressed out, and you're going to parent in a way that doesn't feel good to you. You're just parenting out of this emergency feeling that you're having. Another one is to meet what needs you can. You can't meet everybody's needs all the time, but you can do what you can, even if that's just getting enough rest, eating well, drinking some water, the hangry. How many times do you get past hungry? Movement. Those are simple, basic needs. And that's more than enough if that's where you're at. If you can meet other needs, these social, these connection ones, do those even in limited quantities if you're still in lockdown or if you're still dealing with different things like that. Luckily, we're finally out and we can see people again. And then again, with the offering empathy, do that for yourself. How would you talk to a friend if a friend came and said, oh my gosh, I'm going through all these things? Would you respond to them the way you're talking in your head? No, you wouldn't. So you need to talk to yourself the way you would a friend, the way you would want to your child. You need to care for yourself that same way. Again, replace those lies that you're telling yourself and just offer empathy to yourself and to your kids if you're all having a bad day. And then work towards coming up with some strategies to get some help. Another one that we often miss is connection with others, community. We feel so alone. We feel embarrassed by our problems, or that it's silly that this is bothering me, or my problem is so big, I'm on my own on this. And I guarantee you're not alone, nor is anyone going to look down on you for reaching out. In fact, it's brave and it's bold to recognize that you are struggling. And that's why my whole life turned around, is that I couldn't hide from my struggles. When I was going through our worst point in parenting, I had 3 little boys. I was going through a second miscarriage. We were having major financial problems, switching things over in work. And people were beginning to notice, my neighbors, my parents. I couldn't hide it. It's not like I could, close my doors and this is our own issue. People were saying you need help. So I finally reached out and got the help I need. The transformation in our family was so huge. That's when I decided, look, I need to tell these people what's working for us. And I want to offer the same support to other moms who are going through what I went through. I wouldn't want anyone to feel as alone as I did. So be brave, reach out, connect with people.
That's so true. And that's so good, because I think sometimes God brings us down to the very bottom and we can't go any further. And I appreciate your honesty and your transparency, because a lot of times when we get on these Facebook Lives, these moms are listening thinking, oh, they just got everything together. And I know I don't. And God's like, I'm going to pull you all the way down. So all you can do is trust me. But he does provide resources. And I appreciate too that you went through this And now you're showing what God used and how he worked in your life and your family to be able to help other families as well. So how do you, how can dealing with your feelings help with your homeschooling as well? Because most of the people in this group obviously are homeschoolers. How does this help with, I mean, most moms on here are just like, I'm so overwhelmed. So I'm sure they can relate to a lot of what you're saying.
Yeah, and that's always the topics I share in your conferences. Is like, how does what I do as, you know, in my business as a parenting coach relate to homeschooling? I guarantee most of the time you're at home, you're parenting. It is so ingrained in the homeschooling aspect that you have to parent first. Your whole day is going to get thrown off if the kids are fighting, and you don't even get to the homeschooling half the time. So that part of it alone is huge for homeschooling families. You're parenting them first, trying to fit in the homeschooling. But there's also a direct connection between that and their learning. Because kids, when they feel calm, when they feel safe, they're more willing to be brave and try new things. They aren't going to shut down as much, and more learning can happen because they see that they've got like this growth mindset almost, where they're willing to take risks. They're also willing to accept instruction, and they're willing to make these mistakes because they know that they're in a safe environment where, you know, if I'm frustrated, it's okay. We'll deal with that. It's not because I'm not good at math and I have to quit and school sucks. It's, I'm just having I'm frustrated. Now we can figure out what's going on next. So being able to deal with your feelings really helps them to just be more curious, be more open to learning, and you're not dealing with all that pushback when it comes to school as well.
Well, those are great ideas. I know our homeschool moms can really use that. We've talked a little bit, I know you're a parenting coach, and we've talked a little bit about, or I know all these ideas are coming from the course that you have, but do you have some resources? Because some moms, they're on here and they're like, this will help me get started, but I really need a lot of help. So do you have any resources that could help moms?
I do. So the first one is, and actually a lot of people in this group have had access to some of mine. If you've been an all access past member in the Life Skills Leadership Conference, one of those was my emotion coaching intensive. And if you haven't, take a look at that too. So I have one, it's designed just for moms and dads, but it's more from the parenting perspective of how to handle meltdowns. And there's several modules. I also have a course specifically for kids, or, you can work through it as a family, and it's my boys and I, and we're directly showing you these techniques. And my oldest son is talking to you from a kid's perspective as to how to do mindset, communication, dealing with your siblings. So we've got a course for families. If you want to take either of these courses and you're listening to us live or in the replay, if you use the code half off, that's all in capitals, half off, on the links that I'm sure I will get to Carrie, then you can take my courses for half off. The other thing is that I have a devotional book. If you're a Christian and you wanted more about, my journey and how to just mom related stuff, connecting to your children and how that relates to your relationship with God, I have a book called Joyful Motherhood. And it's a devotional book. It's a 31-day book. And it's really simple. It's got a short devotional and then reflection questions. And then if if finances are a struggle for you and you would like to get to know me better and check out some of my free resources, I do have a podcast. It's called the Parenting Coach Podcast. And there's a blog as well. And I have a Facebook group. You can find me if you type in gentleparentingcoach.com. I used to be under the name Joyful Mud Puddles. So if you also type in Joyful Mud Puddles, I just recently switched the whole website, so you can find me there. And when you go to the website, just under the, the nice logo picture, there's this bright green form. And it's how to get your child to listen without having to resort to yelling. And it's completely free for you. So all of you can look for that. It's a free video on how to get your child to listen and cooperate without having to resort to that yelling, timeouts, punishment thing that you kind of like end of your rope feel that you always get to. And of course, for those of you who really do want to work with me, most of the time people just want to kind of get to know you first. But if you're like, Megan, I love you, I do offer one-on-one coaching, and I have a 12-week program that's a course and group coaching combined as well. And you can find all that at gentleparentingcoach.com.
That sounds great. Well, I know that was a lot. Megan
Yeah,
will, and I
I'll give
will
you the
get
links.
the links. Yeah, and then we will post those as comments here in the Facebook. And then I'll also be posting this interview on YouTube. So we will have those on the YouTube link as well. And
Perfect.
if there's a deadline on the half off code, we will also post that as a comment. So
It's a sneaky code. It's always up for anyone who's actually listened and
Okay.
finds the code.
sounds good. Well, is there anything else you'd like to share just before we close?
Yeah, just enjoy your time with your kids. My biggest saying is connection before correction.
Oh,
You are in this for a long-term relationship. And I'm sure that by the time your kids move out from home, you want them to have learned to be kind, caring, good communication. Think of those long-term goals. And then whenever you have challenges with your kids, rather than being frustrated by the challenge and being caught up in the detail of oh, he hit her, she hit him. These are all just opportunities that come across in your life as chances to practice these life skills that you want them to learn. So if you shift your mindset for that, it gives you a little more, okay, we're fighting again, but this is bigger than that. There's a bigger picture, and we can learn from these challenges and focus on connection before correction.
That's awesome. You could have been in my classes this weekend. I just kept saying the most important thing is build relationships with your kids. You will never teach them every piece of information that they will need for the rest of their lives. So build a relationship with them, and that will be for life, So, well, Megan, thank you so much for spending time with us today. And thank you guys. I'll be adding some more information in the comments. And if you do have questions, feel free to leave a comment, because Megan's in our group and she will be able to see that as well. So thank you very much. This is Carrie Beck. I guess I should close. Carrie Beck with How to Homeschool My Child. Thanks, Megan.
Thanks.
Okay, let's see.